The last thing we'll look at here in terms of agriculture and food are sustainable practices. One of the most important things we need to do when it comes to all agriculture is to reduce soil erosion. We've seen the effects of this in the Dust Bowl of the 30s. We see it in other places around the world that are experiencing desertification in areas, and we know how to fix this problem. It just has to be done. So one of the many ways we can do this is by making terracing slopes. Some of this we talked about perhaps earlier in the year when we talked about some water and soil erosion, etc. We could do what's called contour planting. Here the crops are planted along the contour of hills, and that also reduces runoff, and you don't get these gullies down through an area like you see here. Another is called strip cropping, and again that's just keeping the plants along the natural contours of the land. Or another way is alley cropping, which is kind of a funny sounding word. Here you have an orchard and you have all this space. You have to give the trees enough space to spread their branches, but there's usually some empty space between, and this is using that ground between the trees to plant other smaller crops that take up less space. Another important aspect is to always minimize plowing. Most farmers in the U.S. have resorted to this, but not in all areas. It's called no-till farming, and it's where in the spring and in fall you just don't turn over the land. You just go ahead and plant right on top of the decaying matter that's in the soil. In the U.S., we've greatly reduced the amount of soil erosion. Policies and regulations put in place after the Dust Bowl have greatly enhanced this. In other regions of the world, though, it has still been an issue. Some places, though, we are still losing topsoil faster than it can be replenished. Topsoil, we'll learn when we get into our unit on soil, takes upwards of 100 years to form from its parent material. A couple of laws that have helped out with this are the Soil Erosion Act of 1935. That was basically in place because of the Dust Bowl. And then the Food Security Act, again, that's the bill that usually gets known as the Farm Bill or the Farm Act. That has some allowances in that bill for subsidies for soil protection as well. Another important aspect of soil, you can't grow good crops, you can't feed livestock if you don't have good soil, is to keep our soil fertile. You have to use good topsoil conservation practices. You have to put organic and inorganic fertilizers on this. Use correct crop rotation so that a plant like corn that uses a lot of nitrogen, plant that in an area one year, the following year plant soybeans. Soybeans usually are, and other legumes are good ways to add nitrogen to the soil, so help out that natural process of nutrient cycling. Others, organic or animal manure, green manure, which is just like decaying plants, and then compost as well. When we did our unit on water talking about Alcosan and the water treatment, they actually, with their byproducts, one of the products they get out of all of the water purification they do, they call it AlcaSoil, and they actually sell it to local farmers. They have places where they take all of their matter that they end up with. It doesn't really need to go to a landfill. It's good quality compost, essentially. They mix it with some topsoil and they sell it to farms. Some places are actually giving it away to community farming operations. Another problem, we see this in areas where we have a lot of irrigation, is salinization, where the minerals that are in the water evaporate. Where anytime you have an area of high evaporation, that's going to happen. So we can reduce this by reducing the amount of crops that we irrigate. To do that, we need to plant the right crops in the right area. You can't grow a water-intensive crop in an area that doesn't get water. It just doesn't make sense. We can establish windbreaks near desert areas. That will help prevent erosion as well. And in those areas, again, particularly in the West, reduce overgrazing and deforestation and mining that all contribute to desertification practices. What can you do in this effort? Change your diet. Shift to more grain-efficient food sources, poultry and fish. Reduce your overall red meat consumption and pork. Pork and beef are two food sources that use a lot of resources. As you've worked on the how much land does your diet take? Hopefully you saw that those two products alone use a lot of resources when it comes to your land. We have to water them, we have to give them land, we have to give them fertilizer, we have to maybe apply pesticides and herbicides to get the feed to feed those animals. It's another step on the in our energy cycle, and it just takes more effort to grow those things. So one thing you can definitely do is change your diet. Decide what foods you want to eat, where do you want to get them from. Do you want to eat local? Do you want to eat organic? Do you want to reduce the amount of pesticides that you ingest? Do you want to steer away from growth hormones and antibiotics that may be in some of these foods? The solution to your food issues, you can grow your own. Many people have at least a small yard where you can grow at least a couple things. I have a very small yard, but I usually have a couple tomato plants, a couple herbs that I grow, like basil and cilantro and some things like that. Shop at local farmers markets. They've got a great one up by the Westminster Church that goes on, I believe, every Thursday night. There are a lot of great produce that is from the local area. When you do make waste in your kitchen, compost it. You can get a free recycling bin for food compost from a couple local organizations, and turn that into compost that then you can add to your yard and flowers. Cut food waste. We throw out tons of food in the U.S. There's actually been some studies done on ways to actually highlight that, our food waste, and show that a lot of the food we throw out really doesn't need to be thrown out, that it's still perfectly good. Yeah, okay, maybe a tomato has a little bump or a bruise on it. You can cut that part out and use the rest of the tomato. Same with apples, lots of fruits, really doesn't need to be thrown away. So there are solutions to our food issues. We have to decide what we want to do with those. Our next lesson will be on pesticides. Pretty intensive, lots of chemistry, but hopefully you've learned something with our agriculture and food.